So I bought this couch a few weeks ago for my doll because I thought it looked really cool. But I'll tell you what wasn't cool, how expensive these chairs are. I went on Amazon and from what you could tell right here in these photos, the couches are a ridiculous price, bro. Like way too much. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just make these, and that's exactly what I did. So hi everyone, I'm Ward, welcome to my channel Wardrawsalot, and this week we're gonna be making our own doll couch, because I'll be damned to pay $20 for a couch. Now, granted, I did get this couch off of Temu, and it was cheaper, but it was still expensive. I don't like the fact that I have to pay that high of a price for some cushion and fabric. But to be fair, this chair isn't marketed as a doll chair, it's marketed as a jewelry box, and a nice quality one at that. Once you open it up, inside has like a mirror and some stuff to keep your jewelry in. I don't really own that much jewelry, nor do I need it for that purpose. I want it for something for my dolls to sit in. Although the chair is nice and soft and it has a great design and I really like the heart, I feel like there's something that I could do craft-wise that would be ultimately cheaper and I could make more of them for around the same price or even less. Now it's time for the star of the show, sponges. Yes, the cushions will be sponges. They will be like the generic brand of a magic eraser, you know, with Mr. Clean and his nice smooth bald head. Those are the expensive ones, don't get those. Get the ones off of Amazon where you can buy like 30 of them for $12, but what I did is I bought the 10 pack for around $6, which isn't bad. That with some popsicle sticks, which I didn't even end up using, the wooden dowels, and this fabric that I got for like $10 off of AliExpress. Everything probably totaled to like $20. That's including the cost, I think, of my hot glue gun and the hot glue sticks, so probably around that area of 20 something dollars. Anyway, with that amount you could make like a good 3 to 4 couches, maybe even 5, compared to the one for 20, which is again outrageous in my opinion. So what I'm gonna do is walk you through the process of how I made this couch. You're not gonna get exact measurements. I'm kind of just, you know, going with the flow as much as humanly possible because I have no idea what I'm doing, but at the same time I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing, but we figure it out along the way. It's alright. First off, I took those 2 sponges, which would be like the bottom cushions, and I kind of traced the shape onto a piece of cardboard. Why? Because I'm going to be making a bottom base for the couch. Every couch you sit on has that nice little wooden base under it, or at least I think almost every couch, I don't know, mine does. And I thought that it would be good because I'm going to need a base under the couch anyway to hide the wooden dowels, which are going to be the legs of the chair there anyway. So yeah, I just kind of measure along the sides. I think it was around 7 inches by 2 inches. I don't know if every sponge is going to be the same size, so obviously if you do end up doing something like this, measure accordingly and then go ahead and cut to those measurements or those specifics, because you never know, maybe some companies do them different sizes. I just hot glue everything together because that's the best method, and honestly it's really good to have a nice base for the couch on the bottom so it doesn't just tip over all the time or look weird and unfinished, I should say. The next part is the wooden dowel. I only ended up using one, and I measured it 2 inches apart from each other. The reason why 2 inches is because 1 inch is going to be going under that little base that we just made, and then 1 inch is going to be sticking out because you're going to see the feet of the couch. How did I come up with 2 inches? That's what I measured off of a reference from the couch that you saw earlier, the one that I got off of Temu. After measuring them, I went ahead and cut them with an X-Acto knife, which took off a good 10 years of my life. It was really hard to do. I'm honestly contemplating buying a specific tool for cutting wood because I don't want to keep dealing with that issue. Then I painted them pink to match the fabric and put them to the side to dry. Now, before I go ahead and cover every sponge with fabric and wonder why I did that and go through a lot of song and dance for no reason, we're going to take the sponges, okay, and we're going to shape out what the couch would look like in the first place. This is kind of like whenever I test out my art supplies on the paper, right? You're testing the product before you use it into a final drawing. Right now, I am testing the product, aka putting together the sponges, before the final drawing, aka the couch. Now, if there's something that I did discover doing this, is that not all the pieces of sponge are the same size. So I suggest grabbing the pieces of sponge that are closest in size with each other, just because some of them are a little thinner by like a few centimeters, but that's gonna look a little weird when you try and put the couch together, so keep that in mind. For where I wanted to place the cushions on top of the bottom cushion, I measured out where the butt of the doll would sit. I saw that it was way too thin if I had put it on top, so when I moved it back a little bit, it looked like it would be a much more comfortable fit for the doll to sit in. You know, you don't want to sit like on the corner of your ass on a chair. That shit, you know, gives you back pain and it just isn't comfortable. So that's what I'm trying to recreate for the dolls, is that it's a good enough amount of space for them to sit into, and so that they don't fall when I pose them onto the couch for photos and stuff like that. Like, there's ample room for movement for them for anything in the future that I need them for. For like the arms of the couch, the sponge itself is way too tall. It just wouldn't make any sense for it to be that long, because your arm would be hanging over your head trying to chill on the couch. So I made sure I cut the sponge in half, and it looked so much better already. From that alone, I could already feel like the couch is really coming together, which I really enjoy. So I wanted to kind of test out how it would look like. I take the bottom base and I lay down the two cushions. On top of that, the other cushions, that would be the backing, and then obviously on the side would be the arms. Trying to do this with no glue at the time and just piecing it together, just kept falling back down, so that was kind of funny. But I can really see it coming together, and I'm kind of happy that it's going pretty well at that moment. Now, for the cutest part of it all, the Hello Kitty fabric. This fabric is actually really nice quality. I'm very happy that I got it. It's really vibrant in person too, so here on camera it looks like a really nice bright pink with the nice little kitties on it, and it looks like the same thing in real life. So it's a really nice quality fabric that I got for only 10 bucks, and it was a yard of it, and I didn't even use like half a yard for this. I used maybe like a quarter of the yard for the entire couch. So in theory you could make like 4 couches out of that, and even with some of the excess fabric I ended up managing to make a pillow, but I made the pillow outside of the video, so you're not going to be able to see that, but in future reference photos or whatever, I'll probably leave that pillow in there. So what I want you to keep in mind is that whenever you're working with a fabric that has a pattern, on the inside will be like the faded version of the pattern. That's the side you want to work with, the inside. So there's the inside and the outside. If you work with the inside of the pattern, then the finished product will have the outside of the pattern on top. So make sure you use the right side, because otherwise you're kind of wasting the fabric at the end of the day, because it won't come out right. And I'll show you an example right here. So I'm going to take the sponge and I'm going to wrap it from the inside with the fabric, and then afterwards the correct part of the pattern, which is the top, will be outside. That's what you want to do, and that's not just like with this couch. It's like if you're gonna sew doll clothes or sew any clothes in general, work with the inside, because on the outside will be the top of the pattern. Now, I also wrapped it around the fabric because I wanted to get a rough measurement of how much fabric I would need per square, because I'm gonna have to end up cutting them into individual square pieces or rectangular pieces, whatever, for each sponge. And the measurement came out to, I think, about 11 by 7, so each sponge took that much, and even then it was a little bit too much extra material that I had left over, so I'm gonna say probably 10 by 6 is best, if anything, but I had all that extra fabric left over just in case I needed to work with it. Another thing that I made sure to do was I wrapped the fabric long ways with the sponge instead of short ways, because I didn't like the way it looked short ways, but looking back at it, I think I could have done it either way, honestly. Next time though, I won't use nearly as much fabric, because man, that was a lot of excess fabric that I wasted. But this is my first time making this couch and everything, so I have to kind of take that as a learning experience and then apply it in the future. Now, admittedly, this was the hardest part for me, and I think it had to do with 2 things. Number 1, because of the amount of excess fabric that I was working with, and number 2, because I had no idea how to fold in the fabric for the square without making it look too bulky. So what I ended up doing was kind of snipping the edges off camera. I did all that and then kind of gluing it together, which was much easier. Now, granted, the back of the cushion looks like absolute shit. It does not look good. But that's okay, and the reason why it's okay is because we're not going to be seeing the back of the fabric anyway, or the back of the cushions, so we're going to be covering that up with excess cardboard later on. So if the back looks a little ugly, that's okay, it's going to get covered up anyway. Now, from there, what I'm going to be doing is taking those pieces that I kind of have formed together from our trial earlier onto what goes where, and hot gluing them together to make that couch shape. And this is what it looks like so far, which is pretty awesome to me. I was really proud of myself at this point because it looked really nice. The only thing that I didn't like was I messed up the left arm of the couch right there, so it kind of looks a little too messed up and I don't like it, but it's whatever. Again, this is just my first couch and a lot of this is a learning experience, and eventually I'll get really good at it, but right now it's okay if I mess up. After putting together the couch, I kind of wanted to see what it would look like on the base, and I was pretty happy with how it was looking. But what I wanted to do is cover up the base with the same fabric that I used for the cushions. Especially because I didn't want to paint the base because, number one, the base is a little messy, the edges are frayed and all that stuff, so it wouldn't look that nice. And number two, I didn't want to paint it because I didn't think that it would be a nice matching color for the fabric. So yeah, I didn't want to do like a wood color and it would be too dark or whatever, so I just went with the same fabric, which I think ended up looking way better anyway, and I'm kind of glad that I did that. And for future reference for myself, I might just do that again, or maybe if I use a like tamer fabric in the future, like a regular solid color, maybe then I'll do a wooden base and I would make it like really nice and take my time cutting it up, not like all messy like this one was. But to be fair, I knew this one was going to get covered up with the fabric, and that's why I left it kind of like all jaggeded, so I'm fine with that. But yeah, everybody's different with their own preferences, so I'm cool with how it looks right now. After I finished covering the base, I went ahead and slapped a shit ton of hot glue on it so I can glue the cushions to the base, and so it's nice and firm together. I added some extra glue in extra places that looked like it needed it as well. And let me tell you, I probably burnt my fingertips off because of how often I would touch this hot glue and I wouldn't realize that it was still hot. So that's something that I also have to get used to, is hot glue, and man, that shit is hot. So my fingers were genuinely in a little bit of pain afterwards because of how often I would just be like, wait, let me fix this with my fingers, and then I'd be like, ow, that burns. So if you're working with hot glue, just, you know, have a brain unlike me, because sometimes I really don't. I just turn it off and I just start crafting, which is good and bad at the same time. After all of that, I went ahead and took those wooden dowels that I let dry to the side, and I put them to each of the four corners of the bottom of the base, so it would be, you know, as balanced as possible, and just put as much hot glue as possible, and kind of held it in place for a few seconds so it could dry, especially because, you know, there's like a lot of fabric in the way, so I kind of really had to push it over. Now, again, be careful if you're doing this, because I did burn my fingers even more. Granted, I still have my fingerprints, but, you know, it was a little owie. It's a little uneven still, though, because it's pretty top heavy, so I do knock it over quite a bit. I tried to take this little cardboard that I had, it was kind of excess, and put it to the back of the couch, so this way it had a nice little base, and then after that I was basically done. So here is the finished Hello Kitty couch, and I'm super happy with how it came out. I think that it's just like the cutest little thing. I want to make so many more of them. Of course, I do find some little mishaps here and there, like the unevenness of the armchairs or how they look. But overall, I do really like how it came out. Some of the wooden pegs at the bottom, what the hell are they called again? Wooden dowels, not wooden pegs. Are they technically a peg once they've been cut from the dowel? I don't know. They're a little uneven too, but again, that's probably because of the fabric that's on the side, so next time I'll use a little less fabric. The biggest test here, though, is making sure the doll fits into the couch, and he does. I think you can fit probably 2 of them next to each other, because if he takes up one square, then another doll can take up the other square. And I really think that it just looks really, really nice with him. It also matches like the aesthetic that I go for, which is really cutesy themed stuff, and when I make some custom dolls in the future, their clothing and stuff will kind of go along with a lot of these accessories that I'm building up to in the future. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I can't wait to take more photos with it and make more of them. So yeah, thanks for watching everyone, and remember I love you. Bye!